All right.
Yeah.
We should be live. Welcome. Welcome to Talking Investing with Tom and George.
You don't like my glasses?
The future's so bright.
That's the thing, the future.
That you gotta wear shades. Those are your special. What's the special meaning behind those glasses?
Bitcoin, I'm a blue pill guy. Or what? I mean, not blue, orange pill.
Whatever pill they were pushing over there. That was a new term for me, the orange pill. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the chat or the live stream. Back to the future, yes. So, we'll just wait for a few people to get in. But before we start arguing whether or not this was the bottom or a fake out, can we all just agree to be happy on a super green Friday?
Wait a second. The word's fake out? I thought it was make out. No wonder I always got that wrong.
That's a different. What's up, Seth?
Yeah, are you sure? Hang on, I gotta shoot these people.
Are you playing those video games?
Yeah. I'm almost done. It's like the last two people.
Sure.
Oh, I'm gonna lose. I took a rift.
You're a child.
I know, I really am. But I love being a child. Who wants to grow up? Does anybody want to grow up?
Also, for some clerical notes, we will not get cut off this week like we did last week. I went into my Zoom account, and apparently they have a new rule that you got to pay for an upgraded thing, or else they cut you off. The maximum session is now 40 minutes. So we're official now, and we will not get cut off like we did last week. For those of you who were around for the end, we just kind of disappeared, and that was why.
Tom didn't pay his bills.
Hey, Dave. I never had an upgraded. I have an account. I never had an upgraded account because I never needed it. But obviously they've changed the rules because they want to make money. So let's see how they did. Zoom up 11%, but they didn't change the rule today. I'm sure they changed it a week or two ago.
I might lose. I might get number 2. Now you know why I call myself poop.
Are you still playing that game?
It's almost done. It's the last person. He's better than I thought. And I'm not really paying attention because I got my sunglasses on. But I won. Yes.
The answer to that question in the comments is yes. And
what was the question? What was the question?
Is George playing Fortnite?
Yes! And I won. Okay, now I'm stopping. You can't leave in the middle of a game, Mom. I mean, Dad. I mean, son. Right? You can't. Who leaves in the middle of a game?
Dave got 401 shares of CleanSpark. Did you get them early or in the day or late in the day? Seth, draw a trend line from 1929 to 2018 to today. Uh-oh. I'm scared too.
Why? Why would we do that?
Had a margin call yesterday.
Draw a trend line from 1929 to 2018. Oh, so go from 29 to 18, and then go from 18 until today. I got you. You gonna do it?
Let's see if we can. Let's see if TradingView will let us do that, or if I have to go somewhere else for that. On the S&P 500, on the Dow, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing?
Probably got to be the Dow to go back that far. I don't know.
Drama.
Mark, yes, a much-needed green day. We're before we argue about whether or not these are all gonna fall back down. We're all celebrating that we had a green Friday.
Did you say all these? What about Lunar? Sorry.
Oh yeah. Well, we don't talk about that.
The Dow, Tom.
The Dow. Okay.
Oh, hang on.
Oh yeah, Dave. I've been averaging in actually I've been averaging in on 4 or 5 of them. But today I just let it run. It was off to the races. Matthew's asking, Bitfarm's earnings next week. What are your thoughts? I mean, so far the earnings reports have been, I think basically exactly what everybody expected. With the monthly operational updates, there's only a few things that can be a surprise. People don't like to see. We do find out a few things. We find out how much stock compensation was given. So I know that drives a lot of people crazy when that happens. We get to find out an update on the at the market offerings, and you can do a deep dive into some where their equipment is and how many deposits they have in and how much they have left to pay and that kind of stuff. But so far, I have not been surprised by any of these earnings reports. I think they've been viewed just fine. CleanSpark, the day of their report, it seemed like people did not like that report, and the only thing I saw in there is that there was stock compensation. That I'm just guessing that's why people were mad, because that's usually why people get mad. Let me know if you guys know of a reason. I mean, it turned around. Obviously, today you can see CleanSpark was up 23% today, so everybody got over it. Dave, you're 43K in margin.
What does that mean, Tom?
We better have a run up.
He's got to put 43,000 out?
No, that's not a margin call. He said he got a margin call, but I'm not sure. I don't think it was for 43,000. He's probably $43,000 into his margin, which means he's borrowed 43. So, we don't know what he has in his account, but obviously it's more than that.
Is that like Uncle Vinny? Like, hey, look at you got 43. You owe me 43. Yeah, you owe me 43, huh? You're gonna break your knees.
They're saying everyone was expecting positive earnings per share. The thing about this makes me crazy, because the Bitcoin miners, because Bitcoin is a new asset, and I don't want to bore everybody, but I have a background in accounting, and I was a CPA and all that, and they haven't figured out how to account for these things yet. So when you look at the income statement of a Bitcoin miner, there's so many items on there that are non-cash items that don't make any sense. So I really end up looking at EBITDA on these. And even that's not the greatest indicator, but it's the best one given all the other non-cash things that they have to account for on their income statement that they're all very inconsistent. Some people treat the same exact thing as a current asset or a long-term asset, and some people as revenue, and some people, this is something that's going to mature over the years. But hopefully, and I thought we would be there by now, I thought they'd be so far into making money that, it wasn't a question. But with Bitcoin going sideways and down for so long, these earnings reports are more interesting than they should be.
By the way, if any miners are watching this, we finally figured out the perfect operating model for your HODLing, holding of Bitcoin. We believe you should spend your Bitcoin to cover your operations every month and then hold the rest. That is the truest and fairest way of doing this. It's like having a loaf of bread and not selling the loaf of bread. Granted, the whole pizza story about buying Bitcoin, remember, with a piece, ended up paying 27,000.
Oh,
but the problem is, it could be 27,000 and then it could go way down. Sometimes you might be able to hold, 100 coins or 200 coins, but some days, you might be able to hold more than that. But if you are doing all this work for nothing, in vain, it just doesn't make any sense. And I don't think shareholders understand it either.
I think there's two schools of thought out there. And TH, yes, we definitely will talk about Coors. They put their earnings out as well. I didn't listen to their conference call yet, but I did go through their report in detail. Yeah, there's two. I mean, there's two school. I guess now there's at least two, if not three, schools of thought on this holding Bitcoin versus selling Bitcoin, and there are people that are passionate on both sides of this argument. But
Well, you tell them to talk to me. My side is the right side.
well, I mean, George and I have talked about this. Your operating expenses are so small as a Bitcoin miner that if you got to use 10 or 15% of your Bitcoin, that's probably not a bad strategy. Now, I also understand, on the extremely short Hut 8 earnings call, one of the only things they talked about is they basically said, look, we're not selling any Bitcoin, so you can forget that. So they are adamant. They have, they've been hodling for longer than anybody, and at this point, they did not do this for all these years to sell Bitcoin at $30,000. So that's not happening.
But let me explain something, and I'm not saying the same thing could happen with Lunar UST with Bitcoin. Obviously, that cannot happen. But they can drive the price way down. Yes, I mean the answer is yes. I mean anybody can do anything when you have a lot of Bitcoin.
Their point is we can pay. You think the mine? Well, that would be against their own self-interest.
No, not the miners. The other people that hold the 2,300 wallets that hold 80% of the Bitcoin.
I get that all the time. I'm just gonna tell a story. Said you remind me of Ray Romano. So I get that.
This is Ray, by the way.
I was standing in line at a Cold Stone ice cream store. This was 2 years ago. And there was an older couple in front of me, and they were having this big argument. And I was ignoring them at first, but it just kept going on. And then I finally figured it out. They were arguing over who I looked like. And I interjected, and I was like, Ray Romano? And they were like, oh, yes, that's it. Thank you. Thanks for
You need to work on your voice a little bit.
Hey, I'm not here doing a Ray Romano imitation. It's just...
You should try that. Maybe it'll help our ratings.
Look, maybe we can get him on the show. What's he doing these days?
No, but do you understand my why I have this passion now about Bitcoin? I have no problem funding startup, and then you're setting up your miners and using it for buying mines, But it doesn't make sense to not pay for your operations.
I pretty much agree with you, but in the case of Hut 8, I also agree with them that they didn't hold their Bitcoin for 5 years to sell it, at an 18-month low. So
they didn't. No, they shouldn't have to. The coins that they mine.
Well, it's too late to go back in time. But
no. But what I'm saying going forward, I think the easiest thing. This is real easy. If you mine 1,000 Bitcoin and it costs 200 Bitcoins to keep your lights on and pay your management, then you spend the 200, you save the 800. Then you're not looking to come. And here's my problem: is that they're gonna go and raise money off of the backs of stockholders. That's my passion behind it, by the way.
Well, and this is right. That's the flip side of the argument is, are you just going to continue to dilute the stock forever? You can't, your HODL strategy can't be forever.
Right.
Because that is their revenue. That's their source of revenue. So, you can't just...
No, but let me give you this analogy. How about this? Here's real easy. I make $1,000 this month, okay? I make $1,000 doing whatever. And I go to everybody else, I'm not paying you. I built these widgets over here, okay? And these widgets, because of the cost of price of materials, are going up. Have you seen inflation? They're going through the roof. I'm going to hold these, and I'm going to, on the backs of the stockholders, I'm going to make you pay for my operations. You see how wrong that is? So just wait, because I know these widgets are going to be worth a lot more money in maybe 2 months or 4 months or 6 months, depends on inflation, right? And then I'm going to sell them. That's the analogy that these dummies need to understand. Sorry, calling you all dummies, you're billionaires. But does that make sense? Why is it any different than a widget? It's a widget. I don't care what you call it. You guys are mining Bitcoin, and those are your widgets.
Well, it's like mining gold and then never selling the gold.
It doesn't make any sense. But well, gold's going up. Can you imagine in the 80s? Because gold was only $600, right? What if they would have held it and said, it's going up in 20 years? I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know when Bitcoin's going up. It might be a year from now or 2 years from now. And my theory would be it's probably over. Is well, like to go massive up could be 2 or 3 years.
I mean, we're gonna find out. Only time is gonna tell what the right answer to this is. I agree. If I had it, if I was running a company to the point, let's say for instance, like Core Scientific, they mine so many Bitcoin. I mean, they're mining 11 or 1200 Bitcoin a month. Why not spend 100 Bitcoin and fund everything rather than borrow money or dilute the shareholders? So it, to me, once you're to a certain point of maturity, it starts to make sense to fund your operations. But, you know, we might look like dummies 6 months from now if Bitcoin's $100,000.
Or we could look like heroes 6 months from now.
That's right. If it's
And-
$8,000,
right, exactly.
then
Right. And what if it goes to 8, 7, 9? I mean, I think it's going to be a bumpy road, guys. I really do. And I like what somebody just said. HUD is using the data center to fund Bitcoin. I love that. That's a great idea.
that what? That's
HUD is using data center to fund
Oh.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, so somebody asked me early, who do you have the most conviction in after the earnings reports? And I will tell you, I needed to hear a few things from HUT. They were a little radio silent, but after hearing everything, and they updated their investor presentation and put some important stuff in there, and I did a little reading between the lines. So if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But my confidence in HUT went way up after their earnings report and their conference call. So, and yeah, I mean, Bitfarms, I'm a firm believer in Bitfarms, Mr. Robot.
I am too. Oh, my arms. I am not. But the problem is I'm a firm believer in my widgets. You see, it's no difference. I don't know why people make things complicated is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And guess what? If it does go up, then guess what? I still would sell my Bitcoin to pay for my monthly operations.
Bitcoin to 80K during this live stream. Boom.
That would be nice. I'm done. Can I get off this roller coaster now, please? I am done too.
Rob, hey Rob. No, don't get off now. Don't get off.
This is just we're going up to the top of the hill, guys. And we're getting ready for a nice long scary ride down.
Let's go.
It's the exact opposite.
Let's go. Let's zoom out.
Are we going to talk about UST and Luna?
Yeah, we definitely can.
Was that a big week? Did anybody lose money in that stuff?
Hey Alex, how are you? Hey Jedi.
I want to know if any exchange put their money into the UST. By the way.
If what?
If any of the exchanges, if there was like an exchange for UST, and so like when you bought and sold crypto, that it automatically put it into UST. You see what I mean?
I don't know the answer to that question. You mean like typically like if you start out in Tether or whatever, you're saying does somebody's default UST? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about is that people were defaulted into UST and then bam.
Hey, Eric. Well, I do know. I want to answer some of these questions before they disappear.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all right. I know that a lot of people got stuck with UST, and the thought never occurred to them, as it shouldn't with a stable coin, that somehow they were going to lose all their money. I mean, that should have been equal to money sitting on the sidelines. But this is some of the stuff that crypto's got to iron out. Stable coins need to be stable. There's no quantitative algorithmic anything. It's if you want to have something match the dollar perfectly, there is literally one way on earth to do that, and that is to back it with US dollars. That's it. That's my very strong opinion. I mean,
that's stable.
Hey Jeff.
That's very stable.
Rob lost 100. That's a I mean, nobody wants to lose $100, but I think there was some people that got absolutely destroyed. One of the very few YouTubers that I watch, because I hardly have time to watch anymore, I know he got wrecked on this, and you know, he was doing really well, and he got stuck with a bunch of it. So, Alex, yeah, there's no regulations, and they're gonna, oh man, they are gonna wave this like a flag as to why we need regulations. And it does need some regulations, and it does need some common sense. You just hope they don't over-regulate it. I think the regulations are going to actually be a big boost for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies that are doing the right thing. Saw someone lose $230,000. Yeah, and the hard part is, it's like, I know a lot of people viewed that identically to like, well, I just have cash in the bank. But it didn't turn out that way. Yeah, it's the second algorithmic coin to tank. I know there's a few other small ones out there that took a little bit of a beating.
Poor fella Asian guy.
Oh, I don't know. Which one?
Which Asian fellow?
Oh, wow.
Wow. Bing bong. Are you serious? Wow.
That's dramatic. Yeah, I mean, well,
I lost 1.5 million.
I'm going to get to Matthew because he's asking a question a couple people have asked. Hive reverse split, bad in your opinion? Sorry, I can't remember. A couple people have already asked me that, so let's just talk about the Hive split real quick. I don't like reverse stock splits. I don't think anybody really loves reverse stock splits. I think the timing was horrendous. I think it was inevitable that they were going to have to do a reverse stock split, or at least there was a high probability. And I think when this was on the drawing board, their stock was somewhere around $1.75 or $2, and they thought they'd get out ahead of this, but by the time they went and did it, it was too late. So I think that, you know, they did bounce, but I mean, they're still at 92 cents. So in other words, their whole thing is invalidated because basically the main reason they gave was, listen, we want to be above $5 because, you know, there's a lot of filters that just filter out stocks under $5, and we don't want to be filtered out of some of the large institutional buyers. But now, with a 5-to-1 reverse split, they still don't get to $5. So are they going to announce an 8-to-1 reverse split?
Dude, my phone is like on fire.
I mean, Dave's asking, why would anybody invest in altcoins? I don't do altcoins, and the main reason is truly, I just don't have enough time to be as educated as I should be if I'm going to be trading those coins. So, you know, I know Bitcoin through and through. I know Ethereum. I've looked into a few other coins, but past that, I'm just throwing darts at a dartboard. So
I can tell you why people do it. It's because they think they're going to make a lot of money. I mean, right? There's no other reason why they do it. I mean, I think very few people actually believe in the project. I would like to tip my hat to myself, just so you guys all know.
Very nice.
Who called 29 was at 45? Anybody know the person who called 29 was at 45? Anyone? I just want to see if you guys remember or if you forgot the man, the myth, the legend. This guy who called a $1 trillion market cap. Tom was like, dude, I don't know how you knew it.
That's the one I doubted. The 29,000 I think was on the table, but it got almost to exactly a billion, or I'm sorry, a trillion, and that
Hang on, guys. I saved it on my phone.
That was a wipeout. So.
Oh, I only say. Oh,
Eric's saying Alex Family Investing. I'll check that out. That's the video of the guy who lost a lot of money. I think the split can cause. Yeah. I think that's exactly right. It's how many times have we seen? I just lived it. I will tell you, I am still holding DigiHost, and you know they just did this. So now it's $1.40 again.
That's 1.16, everyone. So that's why I say it's not over with, by the way.
Oh, you're still waiting for that last fraction?
I'm not wrong.
Seth, I think they were, yes, I agree. It's Seth saying they are trying to prevent getting delisted, and I think that they did not want to get into a scenario where they were forced to get a notice and have to, get a warning, and, they can do this reverse split at any time. So it's not like they were going to get delisted, but you're right. They were going to get a notification that they were out of compliance, and that's just a bad look. And again, I think they thought they were doing this when their stock was $1.70, but it fell so viciously that by the time they announced it, it was too late. So,
well, and let me give you from a perspective from the other side, so to speak. And I mean, their ESG score is just awful. Okay, I believe they can do a lot to really help their company and really work on their ESG score. And once they do that, I think we can help them get them over $5. I really do. Just I do not believe
their
this
ESG
was the bottom.
Score should not be bad because they're all green energy.
Tom, green energy. Let me talk to you about energy. Okay? Just I have a fund now. I just I come in and I audit your company to see if you're ESG compliant.
You're doing ESG audits now?
I'm doing ESG audits.
I'm
okay,
not affiliated with that.
And I have to make sure. I mean, I did not look at their upper management at all. Okay, and this is social. Okay, we got to make sure that we diversify. Okay, I don't know what they're investing their money in. I mean, they're hoarding this dirty coin called Bitcoin. Hoardling. I don't know how to say
Hodling.
that. Hoardling. No, that's the American way. See, you go down on the ESG score. You can't speak like an American.
That's wow.
Okay.
You've got a complicated scoring system. So Nigel is saying Bitcoin dropped 80 to 85% each time it reached its all-time high. What makes this time different? And I have an answer to that. Bitcoin did not reach. So if you want to, and I know that that's a big line of reasoning right now, but by that same line of reasoning, if you're following the charts, this time around, Bitcoin did not reach the upside that it reached the last times around. So if it didn't reach the upside, the reason it went down 80 to 85% is because there was a blow-off top at the end that put it to a number where it could do that. So it did not do that this time. The upside was much lower in this cycle. So that is why I believe the downside will be much lower. We're moving, and I think every cycle is going to get more and more like this. This coin is so much more mature right now than it was 4 years ago. I mean, it's not even 10 times as mature. It's 1,000 times as mature, right? The last time we had a cycle, Bitcoin was, most people did not even know what it was or what was going on. And now you've got institutions buying it. Now you've got institutions like MicroStrategy that are based on it. So it's just on another level right now. I mean, I could be wrong and it could go to 10 grand. With these cryptos are very volatile, so anything can happen. But to me, it's not a valid line of reasoning to say that it happens every time, because then we should still be waiting for Bitcoin to get to 150,000 before it drops down.
Which I do agree. By the way, I do agree we should be waiting for that. So let me answer you, Tom. I'm going to riddle you something.
Go ahead, riddle me.
You believe that the world is an absolute. You believe that people, with money, people have emotions, okay? And you are a dollar and cents guy. And with emotions comes problems, okay? And that is what's going on with cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is based on emotions. It's based on the emotion of it's going to do good, or it's based on the emotion it's going to do bad. There is nothing else but emotions behind all these coins. If I'm wrong, UST kind of just proved that one.
There is something else but emotions. Emotions are a big factor with the whole stock market. Listen, almost nothing in this stock market is priced at its proper value.
Thank you. Yep.
Equities, Bitcoin, altcoins, you name it. So, there's emotion is a big part of the picture. But if you're going to use a technical line of reasoning, you can't also insert and say, well, I'm going to insert emotion into that as well. I mean, you got to do one or the other.
Hang on a second. Can you take Tom's ESG score down, please?
Go ahead.
The social aspect of it is awful. No, I'm serious. I believe that this market right now, I think the best thing to understand is fear, right? And when you understand fear, and fear is the of losing of your money, that's the reason why the majority of investors buy high, sell low. Correct? Is this not correct? Or?
That's retail investors. I mean, that's the sad story of retail investing. And it's brutal. It's not a surprise. They bring the pain for a long enough period of time where emotion takes over, and you just go, let me take my little bit I have left, so at least it's not zero.
So here we go. And I just remember the best analogy I could possibly give anybody. And hopefully you guys play poker or you played Texas Hold'em or you've watched the game Texas Hold'em. Okay, hopefully you guys understand Texas Hold'em. You get 7 cards, you play the best out of 5, right?
We're going to assume for the purposes of your analogy that they know poker. Go.
Hopefully you guys understand it's Texas Hold'em, specifically Texas Hold'em. And there's usually anywhere between 8 and 11 people sitting at the table, right? About that?
Yeah, 9 is a full table at most.
I mean,
not that I've ever been in one. I don't know how I know that.
So what happens is at that table, anytime I play poker, I start off with the smallest amount of chips. I start off with a couple $100, maybe $200, $300. And the way I do it is I'll do like a whole bunch of, the onesies and the fives, and then like one big chip that's hidden underneath there, so you can't see it. Because I've gotten in trouble when I had a good hand and I wanted, want to get more money and I find out I can't. But there's always some bastard sitting on the other side of that table that has all the freaking coins. And guess what that guy does? He bluffs his way through the game, right? That's, I believe, is what's going on with all of the stock market right now. Somebody has all of the tokens and they're bluffing their way. And when they want to take their tokens and go home, that's when it's going to crash.
If it does crash, and I mean, we kind of just had a crash 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So, and that's not going to be the last one. I mean, definitely. No. Anybody who thinks like, well, that's it, and that's the bottom, and it's never going to crash again, even if we go up from here, this is somebody who said it earlier. This is a roller coaster. Rob, I think, said he wanted to get off. Don't do it. So you're always going to have, and Bitcoin is prone to, I mean, look at this thing right here. This was a flash crash. I mean, that's one day. Crash! So that happens, and it's going to happen.
No, and you know what? And this, just so you know, guys, I want you to, because I'm hoping that some people are having the same, thought processes as I do, because Tom is really good at defending the stock market and talking about the long term. But there's another thing that Tom's forgot. And you know what that is, Tom? We have a Federal Reserve that is getting ready to increase interest rates or discount percentage points, whatever you want to call them, 50 basis points next month, and then 50 basis points in July. So you have boom, 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 and everybody knows why we have inflation right now. The reason we have inflation right now is we have drunken sailors at the helm of the government that are just, they just think throwing money at it's going to make things go away. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you told me this, 18 years, it's been 18 years since we've gone up a half a basis point.
Yeah, I think it's been 20 years.
Yeah, so we're trying to get rid of all our sins here in the last, 18 years in less than 3 months. Sorry.
We don't know here's the thing, and I just read an article on this today, and the biggest thing in the Fed's toolbox is what they say. It's not really what they do, because they're very limited on what they can do. So they have to have big talk. That's more effective than actual implementing, because every time they use a tool, like they just did a half a point, that was a big move. That restricts what they can do in the future, because there's only so many of those they can do before. This is not 1980. our national debt is in a situation, it's exponentially larger. So we can't be in a 15% rate environment anymore. So, there was Paul Volcker had a lot more in his toolbox in 1978. He raised rate, 1%, 2%, didn't make any difference. He raised them up to 20%. But that can't happen anymore. So they have very few moves that they can make. So they got to talk a big game. And so that's what they're doing. And in the past that has worked, because I will tell you, for 10 full years they said we're raising rates next quarter. We're raising, and didn't do it. We're raising rates next quarter though. So we're not going to do it this quarter, but next quarter, because they got to at least keep the threat out there of that to keep things in check. Now, things have kind of already spiraled out, but I don't think they're going to get to where they even say they're going, in my opinion. They will continue to raise rates. They're not anywhere near done, but
no.
But they're very limited on what they can do.
Right. I think so. What you're saying is we're going to go into uncharted territory.
They're going to run out if they start doing, a 0.75, they're going to get to the end of the road and, not have anything left. And then, all bets are off. So they're not going to do that. They're many things, but they're not dumb. Alex is saying I'm so far behind in the chat. I got to scroll. Only
it's
proof
okay.
Of
You want me to
coin.
get some? What's your opinion as you're looking? What's your opinion on BTBT performance in April?
BTBT is on the list that I am nervous about. I'm not.
Are you going to talk about that list tonight? This is a dropping a bomb on me.
Listen, you asked me about BTBT. I'm deeply concerned about their performance over the last, really coming up on a year now. So I did not, they're very scarce with the amount of information that they'll give, but obviously they have to do their quarterly reports, and their exahash is at, I think they said it was up to 0.53 exahash. So they're one of the ones where when they talk, they say, well, we have 1.6 exahash capacity. Well, I don't care what your capacity is. How many of your machines are plugged in mining Bitcoin? And the answer to that is 0.53 exahash. So that's deeply disturbing for a company that 2 years ago was reporting that they were at 2.6 exahash. So that's moving in the wrong direction about as fast as you can go. And I'm afraid there are so many others that have leapfrogged them while they've struggled. I don't know. I mean, I don't understand. Everybody else got their machines plugged in. Are you telling me it's a year late? China turned the electric off a year ago. They still don't have the vast majority of their machines plugged in. So if nothing else, they lost all the Bitcoin that they would have mined over the last year had they done a better job of making a relationship and getting their machines up and running. So their exahash is super low. They are buying 10,000 new machines, but that's only 1 exahash more. And most of these companies that are looking towards the halving, they're not looking to try to get from 1 to 2 or 3 exahash. They're 6, 8, 10, 15, 20. So I just don't know if they can play in that game right now. I'm worried. Listen, that doesn't mean it isn't a good trade, because there's a lot, George's talk about emotion. There's a lot of volatility in these stocks. So that's one where, people might make a lot of money trading it, but for me, that's too much risk. So not financial advice, but I'm telling you, in my opinion, there are better Bitcoin miners that you can put your money in if you're going to invest in a Bitcoin miner.
So I got to answer Michael's question. It says, do you two invest or trade Bitcoin miners? And what is a pinch play, or by using a pinch chart? I have no idea. What does that mean? Is that just another?
I don't use a pinch chart, and I honestly don't even know what that is. You want me to look it up?
I would imagine that's a short-term play on like pinching a loaf.
Great.
No,
work.
but yes, we trade, and so the way we're thinking of miners is that it's not going to be a quick play anymore because of ESG. We think that this is going to be a long-term play here for really the returns that we're looking for, and we're hoping that some of these 10x from where they're at today. And if they don't, I'm going to Do-Wan's house, or what? How do you say it?
Do-Kwan?
Do-Kwan.
It's not. Well, you can only blame him for just the one thing. Well, I guess
No.
this was his second one, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So. I mean, yeah, I will tell you, the biggest thing in the last year and a half is the time frame. My time horizon has changed, and I'm more of a long-term investor, but I do use options to. So I use a portion of my portfolio that's just buy and hold. But I do try to use some amount of options to make money along the way, during the slower periods or down periods. But this is not what anybody expected Bitcoin to do. So I still think Bitcoin is going where it's going to go. I still think these stocks are going where they're going to go. They are, in my opinion, still ridiculously undervalued. Just, and again, like I said, nothing necessarily trades it at value. But what I will say is if you hold a stock long enough, at some point it crosses paths with its real value. So I expect that to happen with these guys at some point in the future, whether that's a year from now or 3 years from now, I don't know. But most of these companies, unless Bitcoin fails, that's not my assumption. And if you're investing in Bitcoin miners, I'm guessing you don't think Bitcoin's going to fail. If you do, then you should not invest in Bitcoin or Bitcoin miners.
Yes, you should just buy and get out quick. I mean, you can
Well,
make
you can
some
trade.
decent money. You can trade it. Yeah, you can trade.
That's right. You can be trading in this space, but you're not going to be a buy and hold long-term investor.
Right, and I think the best thing about Bitcoin miners, I mean, from a day trader's point of view, probably is the movement. You know what I mean? Look at CleanSpark, up 22, 23%. That's one day. You know what I mean? That's huge. You're not getting that. Oh, and I got a good one. And Tom, I'm going to steal this. Just so you know, most of the smart things I say come from Tom. He forgets to tell you. The biggest thing that's going to happen with Bitcoin is, well, one of the biggest things that's going to happen is 3 letters.
I assume I know what you're going to say.
ETF. As soon as the ETF happens, I don't think they can control Bitcoin anymore. And that's one of the reasons. I think you got some really strong things that are going to happen this summer that should really push Bitcoin into the right direction.
That's why I'm saying it's a time. I agree, it's a time frame thing, because that you're gonna have an ETF or an EFT or both. Grayscale is not taking no for an answer, and they've made that perfectly clear. So at this point, the most they can be is stalled, but they will go through the legal process, and they will get there eventually. So that's going to happen, and that is the biggest game changer of them all, tied with one other thing that Alex was talking about earlier, which is regulations. Regulations, the lack of regulations is holding the price of Bitcoin down dramatically. So we don't know when those are coming. Biden asked everybody to try and have something on his desk in 6 months, but how the government works, who knows how long that's going to take. So you've got that as a future catalyst. There will be regulations, and that is going to be one of the biggest catalysts for Bitcoin in specific, but for the cryptocurrency world in general. And
so
go ahead.
Sorry, you're rambling, and sorry, I want to cut you off.
No, that's all right.
Just Eric, I'm going to answer Eric. He says, I think it was a fake, 2-week fake or so. Here's what I'm going to say, and you guys, you can start with the hate again. That's okay. I don't mind. And I have to tell you this. I'm only going to tell you that I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars currently if I was to sell today my Bitcoin mining stocks. But if you don't sell, you didn't lose anything. That is important. Unless you have a lunar coin, then I guess it don't matter.
You never really did get your chance to sell that one.
You get your chance at all. But the thing that's still making me nervous about Bitcoin, and here comes the hate, is Monday on the 16th, there's supposed to be an eclipse. After that eclipse, I will feel a lot better about Bitcoin. There's some other things that are happening next week too. The biggest thing that Bitcoin has to do is people have to realize it's not a tech stock, and what they're treating it not as a hedge against inflation. Once it goes to the hedge against inflation, I don't know where it stops.
And that's the other massive thing that has not happened yet. Right now, and remember, the whole crypto world is hanging out down near $1 trillion value. So that's all the cryptos put together are less than half the size of Apple. So this is still a space that can be manipulated. That is not going to be true, at some point in the future. That is not going to be true anymore. And at that point, this little relationship Bitcoin's having with the NASDAQ is going to be over, in my opinion. And I feel very strongly about that. Right now, it happens to be just trading in tandem with the NASDAQ. And I think there's some people that benefits, and that's what's happening for now. But long term, Bitcoin has a use case and a store of value case. So I think both of those things will come to fruition. And I think they will wave goodbye to the NASDAQ and be on their own path for at some point, within the next 18 months.
And then I'm going to answer Matthew's question about the breakdown of the miners and how Tom did that. He does that every month around the 10th, right, Tom? Where you go through the production of the guys before.
Yeah, there's a few companies that report a little late. I think there's 11 or 12, maybe there's 13 now companies that do a monthly operational update. So I try to summarize all those and then do a video on the weekend, one weekend a month, given that information. And I slice that up in a lot of different ways. So I mean, I could do, if you guys like those, I look at that in 50 different ways. So there's no one way to look at it. What I usually put out is, what did everybody mine this month? And I think I try to let everybody know, what was this month's mining, what's the year-to-date mining, what's everybody's exahash at, and what's their HODL position. So that's the one I usually do on a monthly basis. But, I have, like everybody, I have these derivative numbers where I put valuations on things and who's overvalued and who's undervalued and who's efficient and who's not efficient. And it changes. Like there are some times where I get a monthly update and it's a surprise, and not in a good way. So,
especially Marathon. Oh my goodness.
I mean, if you would have told
me, it just doesn't make any sense.
It's amazing.
It doesn't. Alex, CleanSpark, 250 million market cap, $6.25. I think that when we look back, that we're gonna say this was unbelievable. These are opportunities, and I will tell you one thing: I believe we're definitely going into a recession, and everybody else kind of does too. That's the reason why I think you see the stock market starting to pull back and seeing the attack on cryptocurrency, and that's what it was, an attack on cryptocurrency.
Sorry.
Dead air.
No, I'm just.
Do you believe the U.S. government will push green energy regulation on Bitcoin miners? I will answer that. Yes, they will. But the problem is, I believe most of them. We sat down with these guys. Has it been 2 months or a month? Over a month?
Yeah, over a month ago.
Over a month ago, we sat down with these guys, and they have really worked hard on the E of the ESG score. And most people don't understand this, that 30% of all electric was wasted before last year. Meaning that you can't store electric because these batteries don't do well. Ask any person that owns a Tesla. And they're talking about battery, degeneration? That was something I didn't know about until we started messing around with Tesla. And the other thing about a Tesla is you can't I'm fat, guys, in case you can't tell. And when you put a lot of weight in a Tesla, it don't work too well. So you can't put 4 people in it and expect to get the same gas mileage. But anyways, yes, I do believe that they're going to definitely start to look at this ESG score. And I think that investors or hedge funds, not maybe hedge funds, as much as it is mutual funds, will really look hard at this ESG score before they invest. What do you think?
I think that this ESG, now I saw somebody, man, I can't remember who it was. But they got an ESG audit from, one of the big four accounting firms.
Yeah, they're all doing it.
And I don't know if this is the peak of ESG talk or, if that's going to become a bigger and bigger picture. Obviously, it has a place in the investing world, but right now, in the Bitcoin mining world, it seems to be the only thing that matters. And that doesn't make sense, particularly since a lot of these miners use mostly green energy. And again, I know there's some that don't, but some of them use significantly green energy. And 80-something% of the world's energy usage is not green right now. It's, oil, gas, coal.
Dirty energy.
Like it or not, I mean, we all want that number to change, but that's what the number is right now. So, if the rest of the world's at 80% and the Bitcoin miners are, 2 or 3 or 4 times better than that, I just think it's hard to criticize them on that. And from the SEC standpoint, if they make regulations, they really can't. They're not going to target. They can't really target one company or one sector. If they make a rule, that rule's got to be for everybody. So if they're going to have an ESG rule, if they're going to have a carbon emissions disclosure requirement, that's going to be across the whole market. So this is one of those be careful what you wish for all these other companies, because the Bitcoin miners have been worrying about this. This is obviously on the top of their radar because they've been getting pounded over the head with it. So there's a plan there. There's companies that, nobody looks at, that, if everybody's got to give their carbon emission number, some people are, if ESG is the future and every single company is based on carbon emissions, there are some big multi-billion-dollar companies that are in deep trouble.
And I can tell you one of the biggest company that's probably in the most trouble and that no one has even thought about it, and they're humongous, and they probably have the worst freaking ESG, or they should have the worst ESG score out there, and I guarantee they don't, because everybody loves them and everybody uses them. Does anybody know who I'm talking about? It's probably one of the largest companies, market cap companies, and they produce a lot of waste from their trucks, moving stuff around. That's the question. Does anybody know? They are a delivery service, and they have warehouses all across the United States, usually multiple ones. Do you know who that is, Tom?
I know who you're talking about because we talked about it. I did guess it, though, when you asked me that.
I guarantee they have the worst. I bet you they have the worst carbon footprint than anybody in the stock market.
They're the 4th largest company in the world.
Yeah, the 4th largest company. Let's see if we can forget. Swift? No. That's a close one.
I'll tell you guys in a minute if nobody guesses it, but they're
yes, Amazon. Amazon. That's why they're so big on this last mile, never gonna happen truck. Sorry, I said it out loud. The last 50 mile, 100 miles. The whole problem, and again, it all comes down to the battery capabilities. When you put a load on these trucks, they fall apart. Anybody heard of Nile?
Huh?
There's one fundamental flaw in their thought process, and that is weight.
Well, I mean, Workhorse found that out the hard way.
So hang on, I don't want to miss anybody. Somebody asked about a midstream. Who was that? Midweek stream. Rob, I think it was Rob. Yes, Rob said midweek update to stream. We were doing it, and I don't know, we just got away from it. I run a whole nother company, so we can pay for this, because no offense, you can't make a living off of YouTube. So I run emergencywaterremoval.com.
The sponsor.
Which we got a humongous fire today, though, by the way. So to me, it's just kind of hard. I don't know why I got blurry. Ooh. See if I can get it pretty again. I don't know why. I know what it's from. It's from the refresh. But yeah, I think Amazon's probably awful. Wouldn't you agree or no? Am I wrong?
I mean, I'm sure. Well, one of the things they're doing about that is they have a big investment in Rivian, and they've ordered 100,000 trucks. But people don't realize 100,000, that's nothing for them. And those are coming over like a 10-year period. So,
We'll get 5 this year and next year.
Yeah, I mean, just look. If you look just driving around, it's shocking the amount of Amazon delivery vehicles there are. Like, I live on a side street, and there's I bet there's 50 a day, and this street dead ends. So
I know, and they can't even, like, they're not even smart in their deliveries. You know what I mean? They haven't figured, or maybe there's just so much stuff. I don't know.
I don't know. But that's just one example of many companies that, it goes both ways. If you're gonna scrutinize these companies, you got to look at everybody and look at the big picture and be fair about it. And I think that they're gonna do that. And I think that it's actually going to be very good for the Bitcoin miners, because once, it's the uncertainty in the market, no matter what it is, that causes fear and uncertainty drive prices down. So whatever the rules end up being, they're going to be a good thing, just because they'll be done.
Matthew said, did you see that NVIDIA was fined for selling chips to miner because of ESG concerns? I don't know who fined them, but did you hear about this or no?
I don't know about that. No. I mean, NVIDIA does the GPU chips, so I mean that's a big.
Oh, and he uses TradingView.com for keeping track of the different cryptos and stocks, by the way. This is, I guess, something to do with the pinch chart. It has something to do with where you look up your, information. Maybe there's like a pinch book or something like that.
I'll look into it over the weekend and see what the deal is. I mean, I look at this stuff in a lot of different ways, and some of the traditional ways that people look at it, honestly, I don't look at it. I have my own way of doing this, and it's, over the long term, it seems to be working for me. But, everybody, the thing about technical analysis is it's all short-term analysis. So if you're buying and holding, the short-term analysis is not of much use. However, I will say, somebody just asked, Matthew said, would you sell calls against stocks on a day like today? And I actually did not do that today, and only because I didn't get around to it. But yeah, this would have been the perfect day to sell calls. And that is one of the way, when I say I mess around with calls, that's the type of stuff, when everything's up like this, you sell some, CleanSpark's up 23%. It's probably a good day to sell some calls. And short term, I don't like to go out. If I'm selling calls, I like to stick to, a bunch of the miners actually have weekly calls. So a lot of them still are only monthly.
JUQQQ, undervalued. The value is not understood in miners. These miners are not worth 100% of their value if they try to sell 2 years from now, maybe 30 to 60%. No one can see the future in choppy BTC. So one of the things, who were we just looking at that we realized was undervalued? Who was it? Hive? Based on their market cap?
No, we were just looking at HUT.
Was that HUT? So Tom and I were talking about that, where basically HUT, if you take the amount of Bitcoins that they have plus the cash that they have in their banks, and I believe their value, what's their value right now? Do you have can you pull it up, the market cap of?
Yeah, and they had a big update today. It was 418 million coming into the day today. However, they had a good day, so it'll be more than that. So 460, and again, I use Yahoo for this. You can check in a lot of different places. They're usually roughly the same number. So about $470 million.
So it's basically even right now.
407. It has 400. They have $470 million in current assets. That was my
Yeah,
point
so
that I was making.
yeah, they're even. They're even, Steven.
But-
So what you're saying is they're even?
No. Yes, but that is not the valuation of a company. So
I know.
it
Why don't you explain what a valuation of a company is?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to value a company, and obviously right now, I don't care what method you pick, none of these stocks are at any valuation that any traditional valuation. These stocks are just, and it's not just these stocks. We talk mostly about the miners, but I have a lot of small cap high growth stocks that I follow, and they are down. The small cap high growth sector is in the worst depression it's ever been in, I think, in the history of the stock market. And I don't know that as a fact. I do know I have 100+ stocks that are down 80 or 90 or 95. I have one down 98%. You know what it takes to get a stock down 98%? And in my opinion, it's a good company. Like, I've seen stocks down 98%. Right. I've seen stocks go down 98% because they have no cash left. And, unless something miraculous happens, they're going out of business shortly. But that's not this company. These guys they got years worth of cash runway, and I think they're going to be highly successful. But, and maybe I'll be wrong, but it's still 98%.
JJT Peters, what's up? Good to see you, buddy.
JJT, welcome. Rob asks, yeah, I'm not saying to invest in Rivian. I did a deep dive video on Rivian, and I don't. At the time, what?
No, that's a great example. Rivian, pull up their market cap.
Yeah.
This is why we think that there's some people with some loose screws in their head. Oh, yeah, 23 billion.
So they're at 23 billion. So to put that in perspective, even after the Bitcoin miners had a good day, Rivian alone is worth more than all of the Bitcoin miners put together times 2 market cap wise. That includes all of them. That includes Core Scientific, that includes Marathon, that includes Riot. So every North American publicly traded company added up put together is half of what Rivian is worth. So that's my point when I say, like, there's times where the valuations just don't make sense. What's happening right now, and the Bitcoin miners are getting hit from all sides. They're a small cap high growth, and those are getting destroyed, right? Since they peaked and spiraled out of control a little bit. Honestly, I mean, if we're to look at it, last January of 2021 and February, they were overvalued. But they have now so massively overcorrected. And, secondly, they got all this ESG stuff and regulation stuff being held over their head, and they're pegged also pegged to Bitcoin, which is at an 18-month low. So it's a tough moment for these guys right now, but I think there's another side.
I mean, here's the other thing. All these companies, all these EV companies are going to need to get money from the government to stay afloat or do something.
Rivian makes no money, and they have no plans to make money. I mean, you can look at
What? Make money? Shut up. There goes your ESG score. Take him down. He doesn't care about the world. He wants to make money. Don't make them be evil, Tom.
Rob, I'm looking at Rob S. He said Rivian won't make a profit for the next 5+ years, and I think that's true. I mean, I think that's their own. That's not Rob S. That's Rivian's forecast. They don't even expect to make a profit. They'll have sales, and they have sales expectations, and they plan to be a high growth company. But obviously, this is $23 billion is nothing to shake a stick at the last time I checked for a company that, I think their sales were, like $90 million last quarter. So
90?
I think so.
And look at the price target for 1 year. Price target, $68.
I pay no attention to this number. So that's all I can tell you.
All I'm saying is I'm worried about EV overall. I'm worried that it's another pump and dump.
But it's the haves and the have-nots in the EV market, because let me go to my EV list. Are any of you guys in any of these EV plays, large or small? I do not invest in any of the large cap. To me, there's 6 large cap EV stocks. And
is Tesla one of them?
yeah, Tesla's bigger than every single other EV company put together by a substantial margin. It's not even close. So that's my EV list. So at the top you got Tesla. You know, they're down now, but they were over $1 trillion in market cap. Now they're only $750 billion. And then you've got Rivian, Lucid, NIO, Xpeng, and Li. Those are your pure play. I'll call them large cap, even though these guys are small compared to Tesla. But, you know, these are all $20, $30 billion companies. And a lot of these, remember, Rivian and Lucid were $150 billion companies a few months ago. And that's when we were talking about, you guys got to get out of Rivian and Lucid because there's going to be a problem. Those guys were trading at like $180. Yeah, $179.47. So, you know, they just had a monster day to end up at $26.70. So people got wrecked on this. And I think a lot of people saw that coming, but obviously, apparently, a lot of people didn't because they were buying at $180. Eric Brown says, Amazon buying Arrow. Please, I hope that's true.
Really?
Arrow is so undervalued. Here's a great example. So we just looked at a $23 billion EV company. Watch this, because this is what I'm talking about. Arrow's market cap's $34 million.
What do they do?
They make it's not a passenger vehicle, but they're an EV company, and they make a last mile delivery and a drive around campus type of thing. They're also convertible into like food trucks and that kind of stuff. So they're multi-purpose trucks, and they're not for the highway.
I finally figured out how to solve our illegal immigrant problem, but I'm not going to say it on stream. I'll tell you later.
Great. That sounds great.
It's just something to do with EVs and different ways to have horsepower and different cars and trucks and. I realize.
Anyway, my point is this is $34 million. So times 10 times 30 times 30. This is, what is this, 1/90th or 1/900th the size? I got to do the math of the company we just looked at. Now, but what's worse than that is their market cap is $34 million. And their cash, they have $70 million in cash.
Now we know why they're buying them.
And no debt. No debt, right? They have $1 million in debt. So their net cash is $70 million. Their cash burn rate gives them years of cash. And they're valued at 50% of the cash that is sitting unencumbered in the bank. So
they could buy them, shut them down, take the money.
Right, to me, I don't know when, and maybe I got to hold Arrow for 5 years, but, unless they fail, if they fail and they never sell any cars, then people will be right, and this is going to go to zero. But to me, right now, you do not find... So look at this number right here, enterprise value. See how this is negative? You will not find very many companies in the entire stock market that have a negative enterprise value. So when you see one of those, you have to ask yourself, by the time it's a negative enterprise value, again, it should be a company that's a nightmare disaster that's on the verge of, being done. Because what that means is when taking cash into account, they're saying, keep the cash out of this. What's the company worth? So they're selling shares of this stock for negative $33 million. That's the value that they're putting on it. So to me, I look for those as opportunities as long as I can look at the company and say, okay, they have a reasonable business model. They're moving in the right direction. And I don't know if they're going to be a grand slam in the long run, but, it makes no sense to me to have you won't find very many negative enterprise values. There's maybe 5 or 6 of them out there. It's very rare.
Very.
So, but again, I might have to hold this for 5 years for all I know. But if Eric is right and Amazon buys them, they'll probably pay $3, $4, $5 for them, and great, right? Because they're $34 million. You think Amazon cares what they pay for that? They'll pay 10x that, and it means nothing to them. So, you know, that's the other way out of a stock like Arrow. They get bought out. And they will not accept a bid for anything less than $3 or $4 or $5. There's no reason for them to. They've got cash to last them years.
Nano. Speaking of cash last for years.
Yeah. Eric's saying it's a ridiculous price. It's ridiculous price.
I'm trying to help you guys and guessing will never make you a dime. My pinch card. How are you? I don't understand. Okay, Michael. What is a pinch chart? Tom just said that he would look at it over the weekend to try to figure out what you're talking about. You're saying it's the best tool to make the companies that drop and fundamentals don't matter. Tom will look it up. Trust me. If he says he'll look it up, he will look it up.
I will. By the time we talk again, I'll know what a pinch chart is.
There's another thing Tom's deep diving into is every single stablecoin, by the way.
Yeah, that's come onto the radar in a way now where you can no longer. I gotta understand exactly what's going on with the stable coins.
Eric said, "Why is that enterprise value?" ?
Why is their enterprise value negative or what? I mean, this is what I'm saying. You really shouldn't run into a company with a negative enterprise value because the enterprise value, it's a fairly simple calculation, and mostly what it has to do with is, you know, take the net cash out of the company and what are the, so in other words, if let's say you have a company and their market cap's $1 billion, but they have $500 million in the bank. When somebody goes to buy them, the $500 million in the bank, you're buying that 1 for 1. So there's no question as to what the value of that is. So they throw that out and say, okay, there's still another $500 million of value in this. Does that make sense? On this company, what the market is saying is there's negative $33 million of value in this company. Now tell me how Lordstown Motor has more value than really any company. You know, I mean, there's companies that are clearly like deeply distressed that have significant enterprise values, and this thing's negative. So to me, that's just a gigantic buy signal. But again, you know, it could be a buy and hold. Yeah, Arrow was $2 exactly. Arrow was $2 at the bottom of the bubonic plague. Arrow is down. They got as high, I think, as $10. And, you know, they were probably too high at that point, but they did go get themselves some money at that point, and that's why they're sitting in this good position they're sitting in, money-wise. So, you know, sometimes it's good, it's smart to do a capital raise. Blue Dope, did you talk about Volta? We have not talked about Volta yet. Volta had a day today.
He loves his Volta.
Let's go to the... So,
did you do a 10K challenge update over the weekend? Last weekend?
I'm doing... I have a 10K challenge update recorded. I'm doing them 2 at a time now. So I'm going to do one for this. So every other weekend I'm posting a double. So you'll get one of those this weekend.
That's what we need is a double. That's what we need is a double.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, my goodness.
Hey, see, you guys know the stocks I got in there, so it's been a rough ride, and Volta is one of those stocks. And they were up 14.5% today. They were up. They had a weird dip in the middle of the day all of a sudden out of the blue, but then they jumped back up. They were up around 17 or 18% most of the day today. So, but again, at $2.12, that's ridiculous compared to their peers, which in my opinion are Blink, EVgo, and ChargePoint. Their valuation makes no sense at all. They are treated totally differently than the other 3 of those. Now, having said that, they have a temporary CEO. Right, they had some turmoil up in upper management and that kind of stuff. But you got to ask yourself, is that a short-term problem that they're able to fix? Can they recruit talent? And they've got a great business model, in my opinion, and they're just wildly oversold. I mean, $2. I'm going to go to the Volta chart. I mean, look at this thing.
As he does that, Michael, what is the name of the website to use for this 2 black bands? And any company falls below the green line will come back and meet that green line. What is the website that I go to, or what is the name of it, so I can look it up?
So Volta's down 83% in the last 6 months. But this is what I'm saying. This is a small cap, high growth company. It's just been decimated. But when you compare its price per sales, earnings per price, their earnings per share, all that kind of stuff, when you compare that to their direct competition, there's a total disconnect. Volta is trading at a gigantic discount versus those companies. So that is why I'm invested in Volta. I think probably all 4 of those companies are going to survive and thrive because they're going to get an awful lot of money from the government. It's not, if there was 18 companies in the charging station space, then, I think there would be some winners and losers. But, I know of 4, so it's entirely possible they're all going to do just fine.
Don't forget Tesla.
Well, right. They've got their own infrastructure.
Right, but I know, but they'll probably still want to put more. And did you know that this is an interesting one? That Tesla had an opportunity, and this would be one of the only things that I would give Tesla a rough time about, is that they had a universal adapter for charging, and Tesla went with their own. Does that make sense?
They have a proprietary charger?
Yes, yeah, probably like hookup.
So if you drive a Tesla, can you go to a charge point station and charge?
You need to have an adapter.
Got ya.
Yeah.
Well.
No, I know. That was, it's like, I mean, there's a lot of examples, you could use. What is Nile?
Nile is they're ultimately going to be a Bitcoin mining company. They do a bunch of different things at the moment, and they have had some massive price fluctuations. So the question is, do you want to, this is another one of those where, like, I don't, wow, they're 29 cents.
Who's this?
Since March, in the last month and a half, they went from $1 down to 29 cents. So that's a tough run. And you can see they were they're about to, aren't they going to split or sell off their other divisions or split them into divisions? They're going to do something because they do 5 or 6 different things. They're like a tiny little conglomerate. But I think ultimately the main thing they're going to do is the Bitcoin portion of their company is what they're focusing on right now as far as the money that they're spending. So
go ahead.
I didn't buy this. I've been looking at it, and the market's just been so rough. I have not touched this, and I hate some of the other stuff they're involved in. And I'd like to. And then
the other problem too right now is basically people tried to buy these machines like $30 to $50 a terahash, or not a terahash. What is it? An exahash. Sorry, exahash. And I don't think they can buy it that way. So that's what another thing that Tom was telling me at lunch. There's going to be a lot of these companies. If the price stays where the price stays on these Bitcoin miners, there are going to be a lot of companies going out of business.
Well, and one of the things Hut said on their earnings call is, there's been a massive shift. As you guys know, a year and a half ago, people were lining up to order Bitcoin miners and paying any price and giving any deposit. But the market conditions have changed drastically. So there's going to be some people that are paid an awful lot for their machines. And, those will take a lot longer to pay off at Bitcoin 30,000 than they would have at Bitcoin 60 or 80,000. And that's one of the things, I think Hut 8 put in, they did not talk about it on the conference call. They did not put it in their earnings report or management's discussion, but they updated their investor presentation and they talked about going to 6 exahash by the end of the year. And Jamie did talk on the conference call that they were being patient and they were going to be smart because she thinks the price of the Bitcoin miner machines is still going to go down. So I think they already know what they're going to do, in my opinion. And I think they've got their eye on something that's going to be very cost effective. So that was one of the things that, you know, I'm making a little bit of an assumption, but that's one of the, I think they've got a good plan, and I think they're going to get to 6 exahash by the end of the year, which is right on target. Now, I know actually they said they were going to be to 6 exahash by the middle of the year, and they did not accomplish that. So some people are mad at them for that.
I mean, Michael, thank you. I'm always willing. Just so you know, Tom is a seasoned investor. I'm an idiot. I know nothing about investing. You know, I just go by my gut and my feelings. And Tom is the one that is the technical analysis and knows stuff, right? I mean, now you want to run a company, I'm your guy. But want to get it done, I'm your guy. But Tom is very, he can take and he can spend like 6 or 7 hours reading a report on a company. I can give it 15 minutes. Right? Isn't that a great example? I mean, it's a yin and yang, so to speak. So thank you, Michael. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and any different way you can look at these is helpful because, again, I mean, a lot of these trends and charts, they work until they don't work. So, you know, the more you can look at, the better it is.
Well, I got to run.
All right, yeah,
let's get a divorce.
Let's wrap it up. Thank you so much, everybody.
We love the interaction, by the way.
Yes, thanks for the comments. Sorry if we had a hard time keeping up and if we missed your comment. If you guys can subscribe, please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And, of course, smash the like button. And everybody try to have a good weekend. And remember, we had an awesome green day today. So that's what we should take into the weekend.
And look up and send on the Discord, send pictures of that eclipse and tell me I was wrong that day, okay?
All
See
right.
you guys.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
See you, bye.